Well, now it's time for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning with Dr. Constance Ikwokwo. Good morning, Dr. Constance.
Good morning, Yolanda.
Good morning, Dr. Constance.
Good morning, Benga.
And should I whisper, thank God it's Friday?
You don't need to whisper, scream.
Scream it from the rooftops.
Please do. It's usually very great to
behold the weekend.
Yes. Well, let's look at the stories that are making the front pages for you today, or that are shaping the agenda. We'll kick off with this day newspaper. Today's themes reflect the typical mix of political, economic, social, and sports coverage in all the papers. Stories that dominate include the sudden death of Bayelsa State Deputy Governor Lawrence Erujakpo, Senate disputes over ambassadorial nominations, President Tinubu pushing major security reforms, fresh moves by the House of Representatives to curb dollarization and stabilize the economy, and preparations for AFCON 2025. Now, in this day, a momentous development as it reads about the federal government launching a new gas trading and payment system for the country. The paper goes on to quote First Lady Remi Tinubu as saying that her husband is toiling for Nigeria and therefore should be given a break. On the window, PZ Cussons has halted plans to sell its units in Nigeria on grounds that there are long-term opportunities in the nation. Vanguard leads with news of the United States seizing Nigerian-owned supertanker over alleged crude theft, with critics saying this shows weakness in our port control regime. The 2026 to 2028 medium-term expenditure framework has been sent to the Senate by the President. Daily Independent writes about the Independent National Electoral Chairman Amopita talking about a clean voter register, without which Nigeria cannot claim credibility of elections. As of now, INEC register is filled with dead people and ineligible voters. That's what he says. So the task for Amopita after this discovery will be to clean up that mess. Still on pricey tickets, reps, that's House of Representatives, seek 50% cut in aviation charges ahead of Christmas. That's a big ask, which Nigerians would love. It's uncertain if this will happen. Then in University of Abuja, fresh crisis over qualification of Vice Chancellor. Article also in this paper says the anti-corruption fight is now a full-blown witch hunt. New Telegraph leads with Oshiomhole and Aline Dume trading words during Reno Omokri's ambassadorial screening yesterday. Many other appointees, including Femi Fani-Kayode, Ikpeazu, former INEC chairman, asked to bow and go. House of Representatives urged the federal government to prioritize forex allocations to airlines and says excessive pricing is a threat to Dirty December. Wow, I can't even believe it. Reps talking about Dirty December. And then on the economy, oil sustains export dominance. We have here up to 56% to 12.81 trillion naira in Q3 this year. Leadership on Friday goes with the passing of Bayelsa Deputy Governor, who slumped yesterday. Tributes are pouring in for him. It also reports on Dangote launching 1 trillion naira education fund to support 1.3 million Nigerian students. The Punch says the federal government has approved 94,000 new enlistments for the fight against insecurity. More on security there. U.S. officials prepare a high-level briefing for President Donald Trump. Recall that a delegation was in Nigeria recently for a fact-finding mission. Now we await the report of their findings and observations. Daily Sun writes about high fares with a bit of a twist, a different angle, reporting that airlines are given conditions for lower fares, such as adoption of ECOWAS 25% charge cut. Also, EFCC plans to arraign former Anambra State Governor Chris Ngige over alleged contract irregularities, while Malami laments continued detention in EFCC custody. Nigeria and Niger are talking about boundary redemarcation and security coordination. And then finally, for local papers, the Guardian newspaper this morning reflects on dirty December and the factors that could impede a successful festive season, such as prices and weak tourism infrastructure. Now let's head to the international headlines, beginning with the Times. Global economic uncertainty and geopolitics are a current theme across multiple front page here. In the Times, as well as the Guardian, they lead with warnings that the NHS could face its worst winter flu crisis, driven by surging flu cases and rising hospital admissions. Our newspaper similarly flags that hospital pressures could reach a worst-case scenario this winter as staff shortages and illnesses escalate. The Daily Star highlights a lighter story about a migrant found hiding in a Christmas nativity scene. The Financial Times leads with major international economic news today. Negotiations on the global OECD minimum tax agreement are close to collapse. China and several EU states are opposing a US-friendly carve-out, potentially destabilizing global tax rules. Daily Mail front page reports that Britain is on a heightened defense footing, with the Armed Forces Minister warning of geopolitical tensions and NATO urging preparedness for large-scale contingencies. Similarly, the Daily Telegraph stresses that Britain must not lean too heavily on US defense, advocating increased European UK spending and industrial capability. Globally, Bangladesh will hold elections on February 12, 2026, the first since the 2024 uprising and the ousting of former PM Sheikh Hasina. Now, let's break down what these headlines mean and how they affect citizens. Returning to this day newspaper. A new gas trading and payment system launched by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority to modernize the industry, as well as build a competitive, transparent, and investor-friendly gas market. We're now moving from opaque bilateral deals to a formal regulated market. So prices, transactions, and payments will be visible and enforceable, this report says. That's good news.
Well, this resonates the essence of the Petroleum Industry Act of 2021 that that is expected to enable transparency and efficiency in Nigeria's oil sector, which is the cornerstone, is to be the cornerstone of Nigeria's economy. But you could see the National Assembly complaining about poor compliance to the Petroleum Industry Act. So when we see these reforms coming up, it's a brilliant reform, but when we look at the level of compliance, the level of diligent implementation in all this, it leaves a sour taste in the mouth and a very sad commentary indeed that we have a lot of loopholes that we need to plug into. The National Assembly is still calling on the head of the NNPC, the Group Managing Director, to come and account for a missing 217 trillion naira. It doesn't speak well. So when this reform is not based on a solid foundation of transparency, of accountability, we'll keep running round the same circle, and it doesn't give for a kind of meaningful or substantial progress in a very crucial sector of the economy like the oil sector. It should be treated with utmost sense of accountability, transparency, and a sense of responsibility.
Right. So this is specifically on gas, and we've always known that Nigeria has abundant gas resources or reserves. So let's share this information. Reserves are hugely found in basins across the Niger Delta, Anambra, Benue, and along the coast of Lagos, Ogun, and Ondo. So what is happening today is historic, and it will mark a big shift in the way that business is done in that gas sector. We know that oil has been the mainstay. We've mined it for so many years. Now we're moving to gas, which is, you know, really still underutilized. It's a sector that is undermined. So we're seeing that the government is stepping up to make sure that that sector attracts more investments, and you create a framework that is transparent and open for investors to come in. So Nigeria is also Africa's largest gas reserve holder and
Indeed.
the 8th in the world. So that is huge, and we will be, you know, seeing what happens in the sector. So good news on that front. Secondly, in this day newspaper, Rami Tinubu wants us to go easy on the president. Well, we can say that uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. You know, sometimes you have to be careful what you wish for. You want to be president, when you get to the seat, especially in a country like Nigeria, you will find that it's not easy at all. It's even more complicated because of all the fault lines we have to deal with, because of all the fundamental problems we have historically in the country, and because it is, you know, it seems like the Nigerian state is actually set up to fail. So whatever you do, whatever politician with good intentions, when you get there, you find that it is almost impossible to make change, except the fundamentals are really shocking up or change completely.
It's quite befuddling to me to imagine the first lady or the wife of the president, because I doubt if the office exists, the first lady, to be saying that the husband is toying for the country and they should give him a break. I don't want to believe that she actually uttered that statement, because this is a man that campaigned vigorously.
You learn that she's appealing to her senses.
You know, I believe she's actually been in the news quite a bit this week for various stories. And so it's a little bit surprising to see her speak out. Maybe it's, you know, it is a valid point, because Nigeria is really going through a tough time at the moment. We have these insecurity issues where the demand on the presidency to do something, to take the right action, is very, very high. But for her to say that, I know it's slightly insensitive to the situation right now. Because the country is going through a lot. And so the expectations on the president are naturally going to be high.
Well, expectations are high in Nigeria, Nigerians demanding more from the president and his team. You know, not only the president, he has a whole team of ministers and special appointees and advisors. And we are at a critical moment here because of what is happening, especially in terms of insecurity. And when you sound out people that are in the know, they actually think that it's still a lot of motion that is going on in the country, that when you dig deep down, what it takes to move Nigeria from point A to point B is not actually being done. You wanted to quickly say something?
I think we should also remember that when you hold a public position, it calls for a performance review. This was someone that campaigned vigorously all through the country and made promises in the Renewed Hope agenda. It's written in black and white. Right. So the question now is that she would only have any ground to be making such claims for the Nigerians or the people to give the husband a break if the husband has delivered on the promises he made to Nigeria. And he's the man that swore an oath to become the president of this country. And I'm sure he's running for the second term.
Still in this day, PZ Cousins rethinking quitting Nigeria. I mean, Nigeria, this is a market for the rugged and those that are ready for the long haul. It is often said that it is a tough market. Yes, it is. At the same time, the rewards are great. Difficult terrain, but you can make a lot of progress or funds here in Nigeria if you decide to stick it out. So this is what PZ Cousins is deciding to do.
Undeniably, PZ Cousins is big news. That's a very, very big company within itself. So it's stopping to sell its shares. It gives a positive light to Nigeria, because it means that someone is seeing that there's hope in the future. Things may be looking rough right now, but I guess PZ Cousins is trying to stick their head out and say, you know what, we're going to stick through it and not sell our shares. We're going to come and, you know, stand with Nigeria at the moment and hold on to what we have. You know, we had so many pharmaceutical companies leave Nigeria in the recent years. Yes. We've had very big corporations leave Nigeria, literally pack up and say, we're done run with this, it's not going to work. So to see this happening with PZ Cussons is a positive outlook for Nigeria, for future business in the country.
And to use the words of an ambassador, Nigeria is not a nickel and dime economy. No, it's not. This is a massive economy that we can't even imagine the potentials of what it can be.
Very true.
And a lot of reports that talk about the market, most of it is informal, so we don't even know what we're dealing with, the extent of what we're dealing with. It is a lot, and people that know. However, you have to be tough to ride it out, and that's what we're seeing.
I think when you also look at the fact that the Minister of State for Industry, Senator John Owen, recently rolled out an investment plan for Nigeria, and when you see industry is now responding to such and showing a kind of confidence and a substantial investment appetite in the nation's investment roadmap. But just in September, 2 months ago, the manufacturing and the industrial sector recorded the lowest. So there is a lot much to be done in that area. Definitely.
Let's see another news this morning. Leadership newspaper, ambassadorial screening, heated exchange over nomination of Reno Omokri during the screening yesterday. After all the drama, he was allowed to bow and go. Appointees still have to be confirmed by the Senate. Many other appointed ambassadorial nominees, such as Fani Kayode, former INEC chair Yakubu, and governors were not screened. They were just allowed to bow and go. So they were recognized. Yeah. So I mean, much has been said about the appointment of Reno Omokri. You know, due to his background and previous declarations, he will continue to face scrutiny. He has a thick skin, and I know he expects this, so he will ride it out. But his social media history may be revisited from time to time, potentially creating controversies that distracts from the national objectives and what he's supposed to be doing as an ambassador if he's confirmed. Right. You will know that diplomatic communications require cautious tone and nuance. Hopefully, if he's confirmed, he'll have to adapt. If he doesn't, that will create a problem, you know, because strong opinions could be misconstrued internationally, where neutrality is usually expected from diplomats. And I mean, more than the actual appointment is also what this says about Nigeria, about the president. It just says that anybody who aligns themselves with the APC government can get any appointment, you know. So the bar is low, it seems, and continues to be dropped in the APC government. So finally, do we need, you know, again, do we need to reduce the number of missions? I've talked about it before. The number of missions we have abroad, over 100. Are we going to prune them? Are we going to be looking for money to finance all of these appointments we are making?
Yes, so now I want to look at exactly what brought about all that commotion that we saw happening yesterday. This controversy actually broke out when Dume moved a motion for Omokri to just bow and go, as you rightfully said. Now, where the problem came is that Oshomole, objected, insisting that he should be asked questions. He should be given an opportunity to ask and for him to be answerable to the Senate. Now this quickly escalated, and now you had these insults being thrown left and right from both sides, which was totally unprofessional in the moment. But as you've rightly said, Dr. Constance, you know, this nomination has been highly controversial. Many people have seen his comments, Reno Omokri's comments on social media, his comments against the president himself. And so it's very difficult to, you know, choose which side to stand on at this point in time. And it's, you know, ironic to it all, after the entire incident happened, Omokri actually went back to his social media to thank the Senate for everything that had happened. Dr. Constance?
Just to add,
of course, he is delighted.
Absolutely.
Do you know what it means? He is delighted that he was appointed. Do you know what he means? He is a social media influencer, although he has worked with government before, but you know, this is like, it might even be a shock to him that, you know, he
was
lobbied,
one of the candidates.
He lobbied and he got it.
I think the two flies I say in this country, in this ointment, is the issue of the take and bow culture and the personality, the controversial personality of Rainer Mokri. Well, when we talk about the take and bow culture, I think Nigeria is a civilized society. Sometimes we cannot over-regulate, like when you go to the toilet and when you go to pee and things like that. Those kind of things cannot be tightly regulated. So likewise, when you see some people with eminent qualification, the National Assembly has that discretionary right to tell someone to take a bow to save the burden of the process, to reduce the burden of the process. But that should not be overly encouraged because, again, you look at the beauty of democracy, it's an opportunity to promote public engagement and to also enlighten the public about the personality of the people that are going to represent us at that level. So your question on whether we should prune down the number of missions abroad or not, I think when we set a KPI for these ambassadors, it's not, it shouldn't be a tea party. There should be a performance index for them to drive the mission. I remember during Ambassador Benga Ashiro, the late the foreign minister, he said Nigeria's foreign mission is driven by investment drive. He centered it on investment drive, and it's quite interesting that we share the same name, but I'm just making a reference.
I was thinking that
yeah, it's
too.
my uncle anyway, but I was just drawing a point of reference to the fact that Nigeria's foreign policy should have a focus. And the people going to represent us should be given a mandate, a performance mandate and a performance bond that they must adhere strictly to. So it's not going there to cool your heels as people used to think. It's a serious work that has serious implication on security, serious implication on economy, investment, and many other sectors, cultural exchange, technological advancements that they could use to promote the nation's national interest.
If you have KPIs for ambassadors, you have to, first of all, deal with the KPIs that you gave to the ministers.
Indeed.
How are they performing?
Indeed.
Because we do have that office that
so
is
we
supposed
should call
to monitor.
that woman.
We have that office that is supposed to monitor the performance of ministers, you know, how far with that. Let's look at another story in Vanguard newspaper. U.S. seizes Nigerian-owned super tanker. Very interesting story. U.S. Coast Guard and Navy intercepted this tanker over allegations of theft, piracy, and other transnational crimes. Authorities say the tanker was illegally flying the Guyanese flag at the time of arrest. Guyana has responded saying this vessel was not on its national registry and its flag is indeed being illegally used. Apart from oil theft, the vessel is investigated for transporting drugs and operating within a network backed by suspected Iranian and other Islamist-linked money laundering financiers. President of the Center for Marine Surveyors of Nigeria, Akin Olaniyo, was quoted as saying that if the vessel departed from Nigeria, it does indicate weaknesses in our port control regime. Well, the question now is, are we becoming Venezuela?
Oof.
First of all, the vessel's ownership and registration status will have to be determined. Secondly, did it really emanate from Nigeria? The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NEMASA, was quoted as saying that it has no information on this incident, so it could not really speak to it. It raises serious questions about Nigeria's maritime governance, the integrity of its shipping registry, and the effectiveness of the deep blue security architecture. We have a Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Boyega Oyetola, who is embroiled in Osun governorship primaries.
Yes.
You know, they're playing politics. Can he speak to this? He may have to speak to this. I mean, there's a lot of implications. Nigeria will have to come under more scrutiny depending on what the investigations unravel. It could fuel concerns about Nigerian waters being a hotspot for organized crime despite years of investment in coastal surveillance. And finally, it could strain Nigeria's ties with the U.S., which already
is strained.
Yes, it's dicey already. So if investigations confirm that this vessel was part of a broader criminal network linked to stolen crude from Nigeria, from the Niger Delta, then, you know, there's a lot that's going to come out of this as a fallout. We know that for years we've been battling oil theft in the Niger Delta. Huge tankers.
We've gone international
leaving this
now.
country. Yes. No, but it's always, oil is an international product. It's always been international. Huge tankers leaving this country, not registered, missing. And then when investigations are done, you find that some tankers are burnt. In the Niger Delta, because of what? Why not follow the money and follow the trail? So this is a big story.
Indeed, this is a really big story, and there's two parts from the report that was seemingly left out, and that's the part that the vessel was linked to a Nigerian company, although the CAC lists that company is now inactive. Now, part of the problem that we're starting to face now is that the US is looking into any ties with hard drugs and money laundering. So we're not just looking at the crude oil aspect of this with this super tanker, and as well, you know, the breaking of the law by using the flag of another country. We're also now looking at the possibility of are hard drugs involved. You mentioned something about Venezuela, and one of the first reports, if I believe it was the first report of the bulletin today, we spoke about how the US seized a tanker from Venezuela and is planning on keeping the oil that they have seized. So now I remember even journalists asking, oh, so how are we going to start using that oil that we have seized? And now Venezuela is pushing back and saying, no, this is international piracy. So will this be the same fate for this super tanker as well? Will we, you know, find out more information about whether there really are hard drugs involved, and why is there even that probe to believe that there might be money laundering involved in this?
I think this is a clear case of institutional collapse in the country. You can see that immediately the Ghanaian republic responded. You could see the US Guard and Naval Command intercepting. But what has been the Nigerian position? You have traced this to the Corporate Affairs Commission, and they said that the data, their registration is very inactive. And so it reflects a poor port control system. And now the managing director, you mentioned the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Mr. Boyega Oyetola. I think Mr. Hussein Magaji of the Corporate Affairs Commission, the Registrar General, too should have something to come out to the public. This is the position of public accountability. I look at the wife of the president saying they should give the husband a break. And that is the kind of culture we see going round the circle of government. Now the MD, Abubakar Dansoho, is yet to respond to this crucial thing that is like an international stain to the country. And yet we've not seen anyone coming out to say this is the position of things.
Yeah, I think it's a story that broke, and in the coming days, I think they should act swiftly. Actually, there should be a statement out, you know, from that Marine and Blue Economy Minister, saying what they know. If they still need time to look into it, to investigate, but they need to put out a statement on this as quickly as possible.
It reflects a culture of impunity.
Let's see New Telegraph. Reps urge FG to prioritize forex allocation to airlines at concessionary rates to help check rising cost of domestic tickets. And article, President Tinubu's anti-corruption fight, now political witch hunt. Let's start with the House. So a member of the House of Representatives, Obi Agwocha, did suggest the establishment of a transparent assessment mechanism to determine the true operational costs of airlines and how this affects ticket prices. It demanded subsidy grants or palliative subsidies to airlines to bridge the gap between operational costs and fares. In short, reps are concerned about ticket prices and impact on citizens, but it remains to be seen if this intervention will do anything, because it may be coming late in the day. We're already here. All these measures should have been taken way ahead of Christmas. The test will be whether any of these hold water after discussions, and whether after discussions, you know, this is December already, whether in January everyone goes back to business or usual, or pursues the case to make sure that you know, airfare tickets do not continue to go through the roof.
Why does this continue to be something that we see every year? That is my question. We keep seeing these airfare hikes at the end of the year, and it's exorbitant. It's not just a little increment. It's always by an amount that is not affordable for the everyday person. You know, what struck me the most about this report is the fact that there are also appeals for government intervention to support other transportation sectors. At this time, is this not a last-minute measure? Just yesterday, we were speaking about how the Senate had, you know, called on the Minister of Aviation to ask and, you know, talk about all these things that are going on. And some of the points we spoke about are how these air tickets are ranging from as much as 400,000 to about, Benga, you said 700,000. And this is a one-way ticket. What is the way forward? I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, yesterday we were troubleshooting the alternatives, and we mentioned the issue of subsidizing the Jet A1 aviation jet fuel, and we also talked about so many other options. But now I think I'm happy that the reps are listening, but the most fundamental thing is that we cannot set this nation on a trial version. We cannot be adopting a knee-jerk approach. Like you said, this thing is something that is foretold. We know every year that there is a rush which leads to a hike in price, and the domestic airline operators are struggling to meet up with the demand, and that will lead to an inevitable hike. So they're talking about.
Now, I wanted to share one more information on this. So the airline operators. So this is from Daily Sun. You know, from another angle, the airline operators are pressing the federal government to domesticate the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS decision on 25% reduction in aviation charges, saying the move remains crucial to reversing the high fares that we have in the country. So this is their own take as part of solution to the problem. Federal government, are you listening? Yes, are they listening to what
Mr.
airlines
Festus Keyamo, we appreciate the reform, the airport remodeling that you're doing, but now the people needs your help now. As the Minister of Aerospace Development and Aviation, please, we need you to step up on this. Save people, because now Nigeria is a true federation, and now it would naturally displace some people the opportunity to visit their home. While some have the advantage, their home might be close to where they work, but many people, especially the Southeasterners, need to travel home for December, and you need to help them achieve it. And others, some people in the far north too, they need to enjoy this. And I also need to go to Lagos to enjoy my trip. So
you're dirty December.
Benga, please, don't be a mouthpiece for the Southeast, okay? They don't need, but people travel. Anyway, let's move on from that story. Still in Daily Sun article, you know, saying that there's a politicization of anti-corruption.
A witch hunt
here under the present administration. He spoke about what he called selective pursuit of opposition figures like former Attorney General Abubakar Malami, who is being investigated for 18 different allegations. Is that a witch hunt, though? If you have a case to answer, then you have to answer.
Yes, let our anti-corruption drive not be selective and political. And also let our criticism of the nation's anti-corruption drive also be apolitical, be neutral. Because we cannot be we cannot be waking up suddenly to the fact that we've been driving an unneutral or selective political witch hunt in the nation's anti-corruption posture, when it's something that affects a party member, or something that affects someone that is close to us.
Yes.
I think that is not acceptable also. But I think it speaks to both ways, that we should not politicize the criticism of the nation's anti-corruption drive. And the nation's anti-corruption czar also should make it neutral and transparent for everyone. And I think we've cried against this a couple of times.
We understand where that is coming from, because
of Malami?
No, because it seems like if you decide to join the ruling party, all the cases that you have with the EFCC are dropped. That is the sense.
All your
so
sins
is that true? Yeah, the government has to speak to this.
Indeed.
Finally, let's take an international story. Bulgarian government hands in resignation following persistent street protests over policies and failure to tackle corruption.
I think street protests is an understatement. These have been nationwide protests where you have over 100,000 people over weeks who have been protesting because of the rising taxes that are being brought up. Now, many people are saying that these rising taxes are actually a cover-up for corruption in the nation. And so right now there's so much upheaval in the country, and the government has pretty much thrown in the towel and said, you know what, we're handing in our resignation. We cannot do this anymore. And it really seems like there's so much chaos going on in Europe at the moment. I mean, look at what is happening in Paris, the news last night with these gang wars there. But, you know, back to Bulgaria, it's a very sad situation to see that these weeks of protests are not yielding. They've obviously brought up a more negative,
so at least
result.
At least the government has capitulated. If the heat is too much for you, if you cannot deliver, then you
get out
leave.
of the kitchen. Exactly. And I guess that's what the opposition is saying as well.
Yes.
The opposition feels as
Very
though
instructive.
if you cannot be in the kitchen, then, you know, if you cannot
Very
stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
But
one more thing I want to add.
It's time to go.
One thing I wanted to add is the fact that let's not forget that Bulgaria is meant to implement the euro.
Yes.
Coming January 1st, 2026.
So it's not going to affect them from what I read. You
yes.
know, although it is ranked one of the highest countries in Europe where public perception about corruption is very low, according to Transparency International. Anyway, that brings us to the close of today's paper review. Those were your headlines.
Thank you very much, Dr. Constance, for that precise and concise and insightful analysis. That's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Benga Ashiru. It's goodbye from me.
And I'm Constance Ikoku. Thanks for joining us on Daybreak today.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.